balls come in all shapes and sizes. I went with the blue because, first of all, I want the oval for what I'm working on here. I'm working on not only weight transfer, but again, where I'm working with the floor. Most people think of the floor as the solid surface. It doesn't matter. The whole point of where you have bones, the floor is anywhere. It's your interaction. Now, he was a professional pitcher. Let me tell you, this shoulder to elbow ratio, his momentum, if you're going to pitch at 95 miles an hour, this little movement right here better happen. Right? This is the beginning of his pitch. If it's off, that ratio. Now, this can happen anywhere, but I'm talking about the ratio of the shoulder over that elbow. But guess what? It comes in handy with cerebral palsy. It comes in handy with hypotonia. Because again, this is what's not happening, is this momentum, this torque. This is one of the reasons why I'm doing my books with Mars. The astronauts don't have this. They sleep like this. This is how they sleep in space. Right? But if you want to roll over, which an astronaut can't do, this is why they lose their milestone. They don't have this. This is a walk, right? He should be able to push down in here, and he should be able to push down in here without moving his trunk or torso. So again, because he's a professional, now that I put him on the spot, let's see if he can do it. So if I ask him to just bring his shoulder into the ground, right, or bring his elbow into the ground, you're not seeing a lot of body movement, right? But at the same time, if I ask him now to put his left hip into the ground and this shoulder, right, for that ratio and bringing that shoulder back, right? Now this is him stepping into a pitch. Right? This is one of the ways that he could think about faking somebody out. And then if he wants to come back, that's where his shoulder is. This is also where professionals, you can't tell what they're about to do because they know how to use their bodies in certain ways. You can tell, like, again, I used to fight. If someone's got their elbow out, well, of course they're throwing in a right hook, and it's really bad. It's not going to have any power. They're throwing me a weak hit. They're coming in too close. They've got their elbow in, and I'm going to take advantage of them. We all have this when we're professionals. It's getting our children, and I know some of you think that that's a far cry away. These movements start when we're munchkins, but they can be enhanced at any time. So I'm using the oval balls, not the round balls, and I'm using a pair. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm placing the ball. Now again, this is where you have to watch that ratio of the floor. So now if you feel that your child goes spastic because you've interrupted their floor, this is where I talk about my absolute horizon, where you might want to work on. You might want to put a ball for the shoulder and the elbow. Do you see how I've only moved the floor up, right? But what I want to do here is that finite teeter-totter for him to really get force that he needs to throw. So in his case, I'm going to bring it closer or less distance apart. I still want to be able to go down in the shoulder, and I want to go down in the elbow, right? Does that make sense? So it's just right there. And again, I look at the ratio of his size. If you're working with a 6-month-old, heck, just 2 of these alone, you've got the length of the humerus. So there's many things that I can do off of this. But again, I'm looking for that teeter-totter. So I don't do a lot above the body placements. I'm going to do a hand rounding. So it's sort of like a half a mayonnaise jar. I'm not doing it like this. I'm doing more that teeter-totter, right? I want that float. And at the same time, I'm looking almost as a berry hold and coming around. Now for some of you, this is where you might want to use the balls in for fascia. Because again, now the ulnar radius should be rotating independently. I'm kind of right on the condyles. I get it. Don't worry so much about hand placement. I want you to feel that motion. Now what the balls are doing, right? Again, it's altering his floor, but it's altering in the way that I can go below his horizon and above that horizon. Now he's still a little bit jerky. This was his injured shoulder, and once in a while, it even shows up with him that he's just got some residuals of that, and he gets protective. Just as what I teach you about your children. Again, that's a number one rule of working with your special child, is stabilizing the system. It's no different. I'm certainly not hurting him. I'm not putting him into any risk whatsoever. He's secure, but that movement put him into a bit of a jolt. I can either work with it immediately and basically just saying, that's okay, Pookie Bear, you're fine. Or I can go in and make note of that. And again, that's not what I'm after, is that coo coddle, right? I'm after, okay, I've got to make a note of that. Now, in that case, I would probably work more on his pelvis, because I think there's a glitch right here within his spine that's throwing that off with that ratio. Because that's what happens when the shoulder starts to get injured, right? I don't want my shoulder to go as far, so now I start restricting some part within the spine so I don't get as much trajectory, right? And that's where a lot of ball players get then the injured back, or golfers and so forth. So you can use this work for professionals just as much as munchkins. You really can. Now, if you want to test yourself, you're going to take these suckers out. And see, now I can really get in there. Some of the techniques from the breathing course into that chest if I want. You're good. Again, just giving this room to move. And I'm going to put that back exactly where I had that. Now I'm going to go after that shoulder. It's almost the same technique, but backwards. Now this, he's not as a willing a participant, and that's fine. I'm not going any harder or faster or deeper because, he's an adult male. If anything, I get even softer or gentler. I just don't, I really don't change my techniques. There's once in a while, like if I'm going into that breathing and I want to go deeper, it's not that I go harder. This is where I use my arm more. You learn about this more in training, where I'm going in for that length of touch, right? I don't keep this static and try and push here. I'm not trying to do CPR on the guy or knock him over, right? And that's where he can take my touch longer than I have. Now I'm going to go back over. I'm going a bit more this way at the moment because, again, his shoulder doesn't want to give me that. Now this is where I'm changing my position, right? So now I'm going to move. So I'm coming down around here. This is where, again, I secure myself. When I have to do detailed work, I go where the detail is. I don't come up here, right? You can't see me. His body can't move with me, right? I want to be here. I want to get in right now, but I'm using this to my advantage. Again, I'm dropping where I can go below that floor. Now again, if you feel you need more of that cushion that you're going into, just move the ball here for now. But again, I'm going for that teeter-totter because I know he can handle it. So right here, if you know anatomy, you've got your shoulder girdle, and you're going right in here to the clavicle. Now, see? And in the name of rehabilitation, he's been messed with. And he's just, right there. Now, again, I'm lifting. There we go. That's it. Now his shoulder is, quote, releasing. But again, this is where that absolute horizon. When you're injured, my sister's going through it right now. She just broke a clavicle. When you're injured, what happens? You want to go here, right? No difference. My son had a port, all that. Now the port's on the other side. People have pacemakers. I can go on and on. but being able to come below your shoulder, and I'm not looking to press his shoulder down. That's it. And you can really see the change in his chest. So now I'm going to go back to where I was. Now it looks like I'm grabbing his arm. I'm not. That flow is there. See now how that information that I can get into that shoulder? And even though I've been doing this for 3 years, I can already tell he's just like, what did she just do? She's done nothing and she's done it again. Because it just fascinates him as just as much how much I can get into that shoulder in different ways. And he's also saying too right now, I've never done this move before that he's seen. And this is also what's nice when I work with Felipe is I try and I'm teaching him as well. And he ups my game and I try and outdo myself. Now you can see already just even the sag of the elbow before he was like way up here. And now already how much he's almost touching the ground. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating, in a sense, a new floor. And there he goes. So now he's touching the floor. Whereas before he totally was here. He had like maybe a 2-finger gap. And now he's down. Now I can use that floor almost like you're rolling dough, guys. I'm going to come in underneath now, pizza hand. Now what that move is just here. I use it a lot on the pelvis. I guide that movement, but again, I want to go below the floor. Now this is where you guys need this. Right now what that's doing, it's very minor. It is opening up his rib cage to bring that shoulder up. Now the clavicles are pulling that chest up. This is a great move too, guys, by the way, for, let's say, scoliosis. I'm going to take this out. I've got him. And now I can go down. I can go down. See now how I can go move his shoulder. You see now how I can go around. Don't have to test it this fast. Now again, he was into the high 90s throwing. I can do this. If he can't do this with my touch, let me tell you, he's not throwing a baseball, right? The way he can now, just see how it just, now this is reflex integration. Look at what I just did with that hand and coming back in. This is how you use gravity for these things. This is how you use functional movements. I did nothing for that hand as far as that's concerned. All I did was change his relationship with gravity. But now look at how he can transition and transition. He'll be able to sit up better, right? He'll be able to brush his teeth better, right? Put on his socks. All of that's from here. Give it a try. Thanks, guys.